This tutorial will cover laying out the walls, floors, floor slab edge, and footings for Project 2. Referencing our handout, we can read that the warehouse walls are a W1 wall type, which is a basic wall exterior 8-inch split face CMU. This is the only wall type that we're going to make an edit or a change to. So I'm going to go to the Architecture tab here in the Wall tool and find the wall split face CMU. Then I will edit its type, duplicate it, and rename it exterior 8-inch split face CMU. Say OK. Then enter the Structure tab and edit it. This is a warehouse, so we're not going to fur out the inside of our walls. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the two interior layers and then come in and change my wall thickness to a nominal 8 inches instead of 7 5/8. Say OK and OK. I now have the walls created to use for the exterior portion of my warehouse area. To model those in, I'm going to look at their levels, the base level and the top level that they're going to go to. And the base of these walls I want to be at the main level. The top constraint will be up to top of parapet 1, and that will set the height of our walls. I'll go and change my location line to finish face exterior, and if I reference the handout, you can see that the exterior face of my walls runs along grid lines, and every location except along grid line 7, and we'll show you how to take care of that. But if I start at the intersections of grid 7 and grid A and begin modeling my wall down grid A to grid 1, then down grid 1 to grid F, down grid F to grid 7, then when I get to grid 7, I hit my space bar to flip my wall across that grid line and back up grid 7 to A. I will have laid out the exterior walls for the warehouse portion. Then I can shift and do the walls for the office area of our building. Referencing the handout again, those walls use a W2 wall type. It's a exterior ephes on metal stud wall. So I'll come to my type selector and my wall tool, choose the exterior ephes on metal stud. Again, base constraint should be at the main level, but top constraint for these should be to top of parapet 2. And that will change the height of these walls. Location line should still be finish face exterior. And I'll begin at the intersection here with grid 7 and grid E and come along grid line E. It looks like I need to flip that to the interior. So come along grid line E to 8, up grid line 8 to B, and then back into grid line 7. And that will have my exterior walls for the office area created. Let's go ahead and take a look at this in the 3D view. So I'll go to my View tab here and select a 3D view. And if we look at our office and warehouse area, we have walls that are 26 feet high for my warehouse, 15 feet high for my office area, and it looks like everything's coming together quite nicely. I'm going to go ahead and increase or change my visual style to consistent color so it stands out just a little bit more in that 3D view. Now shift back to my main level view, and from here I'll begin creating the floors for both the office and the warehouse areas. The floor tool again is on the Architecture tab, Floor, and I'm going to go ahead and referencing the handout, the floor type for the office and warehouse is just a 4-inch concrete slab. So we can make sure that's in the type selector, and it will become real easy if I just use the rectangle tool right here. So I'm going to grab the rectangle tool and select the outside corner of my wall and the warehouse to the opposite outside corner so that my floors will come underneath my walls. And then I'll finish that floor, and then I will create another floor using the same technique with a rectangle for drawing it, and go from outside corner underneath the office area to this outside corner area here. And we have floors that have been created then now underneath our walls. From there, I'll actually put footings in. And referencing the handout again, the footings under the office area are going to be a 24-inch concrete footing, and the footing under the warehouse area will be a 36-inch concrete footing. Those will be created using the wall tool, and in my type selector I can find the foundation 36-inch concrete footing. I'm going to make sure that their base constraint goes down to bottom of footing this time, and their top constraint goes to top of footing. That will set up my footing to be the correct thickness. The location line that we're going to lay it out on is just going to be wall center line, and I will now just trace the center line of the CMU block walls that I created earlier. As I create these footings, you'll see a warning that pops up that says that these footings are not going to be visible in this view, and that is okay. We'll show you how you make that change here in a minute. So here is the footings that have been created underneath the warehouse area. Once I go and have those done, I can take this same 36-inch concrete footing, edit its type, duplicate it, and I can create the 24-inch footing from the 36. So we'll get its name changed, edit the structure, and make its thickness 2 feet instead of 3 feet. And we'll now have a 24-inch footing to model with. With those, I'll just double check, make sure my base constraint goes to bottom of footing, top constraint to top of footing, and then trace the wall center lines of the EFIS walls above. You'll have those same warnings pop up as you create those footings. Let's go reference the 3D view again. If I've modeled those footings in appropriately, I'll have them underneath my floors and with a gap there. That gap is there so we can do what is called a thickened slab. The thickened slab is very similar to a sweep that we've already discussed when we started talking about massing. The thickened slab tool sits underneath the floor tool. It's called floor slab edge. In my type selector, I'm going to choose the thicken 24 by 12. And the way that this tool works is you select a profile that you want to use, and then you select an edge that you want to sweep that profile along. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the underneath edge of the floor in this 3D view. And if I hit my tab key right now before picking, I can actually highlight the entire underneath edge of my floor, and then if I select with my left mouse button, I can place a floor slab edge around the entire perimeter of my warehouse area. To show you how that works a pick at a time, it's the same concept here in my office area, but if I just pick one edge, it will sweep that profile along the one edge, and then I can pick the second and then the third. Again, very important to remember that you're selecting the bottom edge of the floor so that you can fill that gap in totally. The material that's used for the floor slab edge is actually just a default material, but if we want to change that to a concrete, I can select that floor slab edge, say edit its type to access its material, get into the materials dialog box, search for concrete, and use the concrete cast in place gray material. Now we have the floors, the footings, and the floor slab edge all completed. Let's go ahead and take a look at the visibility of our footings in the main level view. So I'm going to come back to my main level view here. You remember when we were laying out those footings that we would get those warning messages that they weren't visible inside this view. The reason for that is something that's called view range. A view range is what areas do we really want to see inside of our project. To see the view range for any given view, I'm going to go to my properties box and I will find view range and I'll hit this edit button here. So here's the current view range of this view, and you have something that's called a primary range and then also a view depth. The primary range I like to liken to a box where you have a top of a box, you have a bottom of a box, and then you have a cut plane that passes through the box. And then our project is in relation and fitting into this box. So right now the top of the box is 7 foot 6 inches above the main level. A cut plane is set at 4 feet off of the main level, and the bottom of the box is flush with the main level or at 0 elevation. Now the view depth is how far down through the bottom of this box are we actually seeing things. And right now it's showing that we're just seeing to the bottom of the box itself, which is flush with the main level. So if I change my view depth to bottom of footing here and I hit apply, you'll see that I'll get the outlines of my footing starting to show up because I'm now looking deeper than I was before. The other thing that you can see is that I'm seeing the outside of my footing here, but I'm not seeing the inside of my footing. If I want to set it up similar to my project view on the handout, I need to see the inside of my footing as well. So to do that, what I'll do is I will change what's called the transparency of our floors. I'm going to go ahead and select the floor in the warehouse area and then right mouse click, say override the graphics by category in this view, and I will come to surface transparency and make that floor 100% transparent. That will allow us to see both the inside and outside edges of our footings. I'm going to select all of my footings by coming first here to the 36-inch footing, selecting one, right mouse clicking, saying select all instances and entire projects. Then I'm going to add the 24-inch footings to that selection set. Once I have those, I'm going to come in and right mouse click and say override the graphics in the view, this time by element, because my footings, if you remember, were categorized as a wall, and I don't want to change the way all of my walls look, but just the footing. So I'm going to go by element here, come to projection lines, and change the projection lines to a hidden line type. And if I hit apply there, you'll see that the outlines of my footings will come to a dashed line type or hidden line type, where it will leave my walls a solid line type. I'll also increase my detail level to fine so that you can see a little more detail in the walls.